Hi everybody, today you're going to learn about an artist named Jean-Michel Basquiat. He's one of my favorite artists and I'm excited for you to learn about him. The next few assignments you do will have to do with his work. You'll be modeling after his work. And there's several reasons for doing this. The biggest reason is if you look at this painting, what's your first impression? A lot of people think, oh, anybody could do that, right? And maybe that's true. There's some truth to that, and that's one of the reasons you're doing work that's similar to his because you can do this too. A lot of you in this class are uh, maybe a little nervous about making art. Maybe you think you can't draw, but that's all right. You don't have to be able to draw perfectly to produce meaningful, good art. I'm going to go through some slides. That's Jean Michel right there. I'll tell you a little bit about him in just a second, but I just wanted you to see how big this painting is. A lot of his paintings are large scale. They aren't all large scale, but he's standing in front of it and you can see this is a big painting. Okay, here's some facts about him. He went to an alternative high school just like you. He was born in Brooklyn. His father was Haitian. His mother was Puerto Rican. If you listen closely, you'll hear him mentioned all the time in our culture today. He's mentioned in songs by Jay-Z, Lil Wayne, Macklemore, Nicki Minaj, Kanye West. You can see his work on clothing. He still influences our culture today. Just a couple years ago, one of his paintings sold at auction for $110.5 million. His art focused on dichotomies such as wealth versus poverty, integration versus segregation, and inner versus outer experience. And this is the life he lived. He was African American, Puerto Rican, or excuse me, Haitian Puerto Rican. He definitely was a minority and he experienced things like this. So his art was all about his life. If you've heard of Madonna, he dated her before she was famous. And he would tell people when he was with Madonna, he'd be like, she's going to be big, she's going to be huge. And he was right. Unfortunately, he died when he was 27 years old in 1988 of a heroin overdose. Just a few months prior to his death, he told one of his friends, Keith Haring, who's also a really famous artist that died early, that he had kicked his heroin habit. He had gone through a program, he was all better. But just a couple months after that, he was found in his studio dead of an overdose. Heroin is not something that is easy to kick. All right, this is the painting that sold for $110 million to that gentleman right there. His name is Yusaka Maisawa. He's a billionaire from Japan. He bought it because he loves it. Now, this painting was owned by a collector that bought it in, I think, 1984 for $19,000. So that appreciated quite a bit in value. And so it was owned by this collector. Now, Jean Michel's sisters, who are still living, were watching this auction, hoping that it would sell for a good amount of money. They were blown away by how much it sold by, and they were extremely happy because the way the art world works is even though they didn't own this painting, they do own some of Basquiat's painting, and they're trying to build his legacy. So because this billionaire bought this painting for so much money, that means all of the other Basquiat paintings are now worth a lot more money. And it kind of solidifies his place in art history as a significant artist. Just want to show you a few other of his paintings. Very expressive, okay? So he's exploring a lot of ideas. When he does his paintings, he'll start with a bunch of colors, then he'll paint over that, and then he'll paint over that, and he'll use paint first, and then he'll go in with oil pastels or chalk or a bunch of different things and just add layers and layers and lines and lines. And again, I wanted to just show you the scale of this so you can see this woman standing in front of the painting and see how big it is. Now, Basquiat was very thoughtful in his work, and if you just take a minute, I mean, you could spend hours in front of this painting, but if you look at all the different words, a lot of them, they don't really make sense, but you can kind of jump into his mind and see it. He's thinking all these different thoughts, and always put a lot of meaning into his work. And that's what makes it really interesting. This is one of my favorites right here. I just love the colors, love the expression. If you look at these lines, I mean, you could say anybody could do that, but I don't know. It's pretty cool. Okay, now pay close attention to the next few slides because you are going to be doing things similar to this. This is a drawing he did, and I'm just going to call it, I don't know if he had a name for these drawings, I'm going to call them a brainstorm drawing, and that's what you will do. He'll do 5 of these, and you'll spend 30 minutes on each of these, and this is over the next couple weeks, so don't worry. But we're going to title each of these a different thing, and I'll get into that as you go over your assignments. But it's essentially just this brainstorm. Whatever he's thinking in his head, he's just kind of splurging onto the page, and he's drawing crazy drawings, and he's writing a lot of words, and he's putting in lines. You can see some kanji in there. There's references to boxing, that drawing. Those are boxers. Then you see Sugar Ray Robinson over there on the left is written down. He's a boxer. Boxer Rebellion. So all these different interests he had. Basquiat was into film, into sports, into literature. He loved art. He loved art history. So he was very much a student of everything he could get his hands on. He was interested in so many things, and he did not stay within the bounds that society would say, you're stuck here. He was interested in everything. It didn't matter what culture he wanted to learn. Let's look at a few more of these. So a lot of times he would use these as references for bigger paintings, and he would just take little pieces of these drawings and then go big with them. When he was 7, he got in a car, or he was hit by a car, and he ended up in the hospital for a while, and his mom brought him a book called Gray's Anatomy, and it's a book just about the anatomy of the body. And he studied that book, and you see a lot of the references in his artwork, so he learned a lot about the body as he was sitting there in bed. Unfortunately, that same year, his parents split up, and he ended up living with his dad. His mom, about 6 years later, was admitted to a mental institution, and she spent the rest of her life in and out of mental hospital. Okay, we're going to end there. There's a few videos I want you to watch. Just go ahead and go through the assignment, and you'll see what you need to do. And please, don't be scared as you do these assignments. This is all about expression. Everybody has different levels of art skill. What I love about Basquiat is that is not important. What is important is that you express yourself and you just let it all out.